It's the Brad and John Show.
It is the Brad and John Show. Today's date is the 10th of February in the double digits, and this is the C block, the Charlie block. Okay, John, back to your original, I don't know if this was number 2 or number 1, the situation with the data centers, okay?
Yeah.
Okay. I talked about the fact that that there was a data center in Washington owned by Mercy. At one point in time, it ran all of the data for all the hospitals and all the doctors' offices for their entire system, all the different states and locations. And I talked to Bethany Pope, and I asked her, and her response was that she sent the same thing to Chris at the Missourian, and she says here, I'll read this again. As an early adopter of healthcare technology, Mercy opened its Washington data center in 2010 to serve as the backbone of its infrastructure to support one of the first integrated electronic health record systems in the U.S. With multiple data centers across Mercy, they still serve an integral role in providing caregivers reliable access to clinical records and other supporting systems. However, much of Mercy's technology services, including energy-intensive AI, has transitioned to the cloud through relationships like the one with Microsoft. Now, here's the interesting part of this is there's a couple posts on a couple of these different Facebook pages, and I know this is Boomer Facebook, John, I get it. And some of the posts are really funny where people are saying, why do we need a data center where people are just doing goofy images and fake videos? See, once again, John.
Once again.
These data centers are not just AI. As everything moves to the cloud, that's what this is. They're not building data centers that are just going to be expressly handling AI. This is essentially the growing idea of the cloud. Now, the interesting part of this is anybody, like I'll give you a perfect example. In our field, in broadcasting, movie production, there was this company. I don't know if you've heard of a company, a little small little company that nobody's ever heard of called Adobe.
Never heard of it.
You heard Adobe, right, John? You know what Adobe is?
Yeah, I think once or twice it's popped up on my screen over the last few decades.
Right, once or twice, more like all the time. They're the ones that do PDFs and they do all sorts of different things. They do the various...
Everything. Yep, everybody knows them. Go ahead.
Right. Okay, once upon a time, what was the business model of Adobe? And work with me on this, John. What was the business model?
It was a freemium model where you could get something for free. You could have basic access to a PDF document, but if you wanted an enhanced version of it, you had to pay more. And then eventually you could store all of your documents and your videos and all of your company's files in the cloud.
Well, you're close, but you're not quite the direction I'm headed. Back in the day, when you first started doing Adobe, the various different things, you bought the software and they delivered it to you. How, John?
It was probably a disk.
It was a disk. So you loaded the software onto your computer. And at that point in time, you owned that software. Technically, you didn't really because the crazy things with the way the law is.
But it was on your computer. It was local. You didn't access it. You didn't have to copy and get the latest update all the time, which is your point.
Right. You had a physical copy of the program. Well, when the cloud came around, all these people start saying, okay, if we sell a suite of software one time for $500, we make $500 minus the cost of the disk and the box and all that kind of stuff. Let's say we net $345, okay? But if we put it on the cloud and do a subscription service, every single year they have to pay for it again. And it's not like you're owning the software or every single month, whichever one you choose to, if you do the monthly or the yearly, stuff like that. So the problem is, once upon a time, the software ran on your hard drive. Now it runs in the cloud. So everybody's doing everything in the cloud. So there's more need for data centers because everything's in the cloud. And what people don't realize is these data centers they want to put in St. Charles and in Festus and in Weldon Spring, and well, not Weldon Spring, the places like down there in Franklin County behind the Shaw Nature Reserve and stuff like that. They are running cloud, just like the lady Bethany Pope sent me from Mercy Hospital. They're doing their stuff in the cloud. Well, the cloud is not literally something up there that hovers around above, like a satellite deal or stuff like that. It's these data centers, and that's where people are being so short-sighted in this. This is something that needs to be done. I'm a pro data center guy.
Let me interrupt, Brad. I think this would be the type of thing where if you pulled the transcript from this, You should post it as a reply to Betty and Agnes and Geneva and Carol and the other ones who are complaining in this vein about data centers. And I think they will see your well-reasoned argument, and they will probably be better for it.
Well, and here's another thing. That lady, what was the lady that complained about the gunshots and the car racing in their Maryland Heights?
Yeah, Mrs. Grote.
Mrs. Grote. Mrs. Grote, I'll make you an offer. I happen to know some people that work at Amazon in their data center division. I know a couple of people that work in Google in the data center division. If you allow a data center right there on the border between Maryland Heights and Chesterfield, they will put advanced security there, and they will no longer allow drag racing or gun shooting at night. So can we make that trade? Which would you rather have? A data center where there's no heathens driving those muscle kind of cars or the supercars, revving their engines and squealing their tires, or would you like to just have that nice, slow hum of the data center near you, which, quite honestly, would put your kids to sleep? And they go, Mom, I can go to sleep so much easier now. I hear that nice, low hum from the data center. Oh, aren't you so glad we got the new data center? It would be like one of my commercials. Oh, you've done the perfect data center. Aren't you so happy? Yes, I am, dear. Thank you so much.
I think it's a great idea. And I think most suburban men would say a nice, gentle hum will put you right to sleep. I mean, it's ambient noise from coming from the data center.
There was a time. Think about this for a minute. If you drive in North City, imagine this, okay? Imagine, let's say, today, the people in South City, down there off of 55 at Arsenal, today, they're on the west side of 55. Okay, you know what I'm talking about, Mike? John, you go south on 55, you get off of Arsenal there, and on the west side of Arsenal, it's mostly residential. Let's say there was a big plot of land there, and many acres, maybe 200-300 acres, and all of a sudden, this company out of the United States called InBev came in one day and said, you know what? We want to build a brewery right there on the east side of 55 because we have to get water out of the river to brew our beer. And we're going to have some smokestacks and things like that. And you know what? It's going to smell great. It's going to smell wonderful. And the people in South City go, oh, we don't want that brewery near us. They're going to suck all the water out of the river. They're going to take all our electricity. And we'll have to smell that stupid hop smell all the time, just like the people in Rock Hill with the marijuana smell. Get what I'm saying, John?
I get it. And that was actually saved because they brought a KC Masterpiece in. They bought a cannabis facility in. And then they also they just told Gus's Pretzels to move. They said, we don't want brewery workers coming across the street and getting pretzels today. Just get out of here. And then they ended up having an O.T. Hodges chili parlor. And then everybody enjoyed the delightful smell of O.T. Hodge.
Did I make a good analogy there, John? You never like my analogies, but you liked my analogy there?
It was workable. Yeah, I like that, Brad. And I think that most people would say that, there's probably a little bit of a difference between a beer manufacturing facility that employed at one point like 1/5 of the city's population versus a data center that will largely be run remotely. But I'm not one to poke holes in data centers because I think you and I are generally on the same page with this.
Well, but once again, the construction jobs, but the problem is that here's the problem. If they wait for another 5 or 10 years, there's going to be no construction workers left because they're all going to be dead and retired because there's no young guys doing construction anymore,
I just heard Bart Inman text you, Brad. Hey, Brad, could I ask you a personal phone question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Why do you have your keyboard sound on your phone?
Why do I have my keyboard sound on my phone?
Yeah, so yesterday when I was talking in A Block, when I'm just talking about stuff, I can hear you texting somebody. And so there's a feature on phones. And a lot of times, so for example, I worked with a gentleman who was hard of hearing. And he would often on his iPad, he would take notes in meetings. And because he was mostly functionally deaf, he didn't know that when he was tapping his keyboard, he had, for some reason, left the keyboard clicking sound on. So I and others would gently, sometimes in a meeting, walk up and reach over and say, hey, can you kill that keyboard sound? It's super annoying and disrespectful. Why would you have your tapping sound on your keyboard?
John, because of the fact that long time ago, living in North County, living not too far from Coldwater Creek, I dipped my fingers into Coldwater Creek.
Oh yeah, is that what you called her? You called her Coldwater Creek?
And now I have no feeling in the tip of my fingers. My tips of my fingers are numb. So in other words, in order for me to know that I have pressed a portion of the keyboard, which is just the screen, but it's not actually key, but I need to hear that actual sound of me touching the keyboard because I can't feel it because my fingers have been irradiated and there's no longer any finger feeling in the tips of my fingers. That's why, John.
I got it. And that's why you're missing fingernails too, because those little channel catfish would come up and nip at your fingertips, wouldn't they, Brad?
Well, they would tear my fingernails off. They would just grab them, and that's why for a long time people would go, "Oh my God, you don't have any fingernails." I go, "Well, that's because of the fact that I put my fingers in Coldwater Creek, and the fish ate my fingernails, and the radiation desensitized my fingertips."
You need to retell that story today from Mayor Lowry when you tell him why you want to purchase condemned radioactive properties, and he will say, "You know what? Fingertipless Brad, fingernailless Brad, the land is yours. Here's the deed. Come sign it."
John, if I told you a story right now, you would not believe it. But there is a piece of property that I can buy, literally, and I shouldn't tell the story on the air because somebody will figure out what I'm doing. There's a piece of property I can buy where I would own part of the runway at Lambert.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, don't tell the story right now, Brad. You're going to give away your land deal.
So I'm going to charge landing fees when I own that piece of property. Okay, John, tomorrow we'll do it again.
I'll see you tomorrow at 7 a.m.